Everybody, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Natalie with Tiny House Listings Canada. I'm super excited to have you here again today for another interview. This is definitely one of my favorite tiny homes that we have listed right now, just because it's so beautiful and the location is really idyllic for me. And our guest is the current owner, and she's selling her tiny home. It's a tiny house mansion because of the size. And this is Kristine. Hello, Kristine.
Hello. Hi, Natalie. Thanks for having me. And hi, everybody.
Thanks for being with us, Kristine. I know you're busy and you just have a new grandchild, so thanks for making time to be with us
Yeah,
today. Uh,
thank you so much.
My pleasure. So let's start with, so some of us might know you already from the previous video that we have from you, which I'll link here,
Mhm.
where you talk a little bit about leaving Toronto and coming to your tiny home. And can you tell me what inspired you? Actually, first, let's talk about the area where you're at right now, just briefly. What area is your tiny home in right now?
I'm in Kawartha Lakes. It's like an hour from Toronto, which is actually pretty convenient. It's an easy journey and a pretty fast one to get to the city if I wanted to go there.
Okay. And
Mm.
you're on a farm acreage, correct?
Yeah, I'm on 100-acre organic farm where there are fellow healers and energy like-minded folks like myself here. It's really beautiful, peaceful place.
Yeah, like people living a holistic sort of hybrid lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, the farmer and his partner are both healers of different modalities, and
Oh,
I'm a healer too. So it's really cool that I found them and we're all living here together on the farm.
nice. And why did you leave Toronto? Like you had typically been a city person up until that point, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I used to have a wellness clinic downtown Toronto. I was all about the city. I was all about my fashion and my heels, and that was my thing. I did not care for cottages, country life, outside at all. If I could stay inside and look outside, I'm happy. So I had my clinic downtown and COVID happened. And because the clinic was all, hands-on based work, none of the practitioners or myself could do anything for quite some time.
Mhm.
The landlord was not willing to give us a break, and the practitioners ended up leaving the clinic, leaving me holding the bag, and I couldn't pay for anything. So I ended up having to close the clinic down and just walk away from it, and then couldn't practice for a while. So I was just sitting at home, and they started putting up 5G towers all over the place, and the frequencies were really hurting my head, and it was getting quite painful. And I just kind of got to a place where like I don't even know what it is I'm still doing here anymore. I felt the need to shift and create space for myself, especially with my energy work because I'm an energy healer, to be able to have that distance from those frequencies to be able to do my best work outside of the city. So I looked for something else, um, and I wanted to just kind of go rent a townhome somewhere and just put a garden in the back. And I just happened to be on Kijiji looking for like a chair or something. I don't even remember exactly what it was. And I came across this ad to help out on a farm, and I only found it once and I never found it again. So I feel like it's a sign from the universe. And I answered it. I checked it out. I fell in love with the place. I made sure to bring my family, and they all thought it was beautiful. And the farmers really enjoyed me being there. And they said, if you want to stay, you can. We really like it, and we like you, and we love you to be here, but you would have to provide your own home. And it has to be off grid because where our volunteers live, it's an off grid section. So that's how this all happened.
Wow, it's very interesting that you only saw the ad once and then it was gone.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's a really neat. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a synchronicity. And
Mm.
how did you select a builder? Like tell us a little bit about the build and the builder and what made you choose this very unique size and design and whatnot.
Um, I had looked at several other builders, but when I talked to them, it was all really a time thing. Like they couldn't provide it for like another year or so later than I needed it to be. So it was more just selecting who could provide me with what I wanted the quickest.
Mhm.
So I went with True North Tiny Homes. And what I like about True North Tiny Homes is that they really do a custom build. So it wasn't like this is how it is, it's a template, and you just pick the finishings you want, and that's it. I got to completely design my home the way I wanted it to look externally, internally, and what was I going to say? And the size is because tiny homes aren't my thing. To start out by saying, I just wanted to be here.
Mhm.
So I knew that because tiny homes weren't really my thing, I needed to create something with as much space as possible. So I asked him, like, what's the biggest one you have? And he said 40 long. So I'm like, okay, we're doing that 40 long. And then because the Ontario Building Code, the height of the door frames have to be 6'11", sleeping loft would have been only 2 feet high, which
Mhm.
isn't very comfortable. So I opted for everything on the main floor. So there are no lofts in this house.
Right, it's all just one floor.
Yeah.
So this is a great tiny house for seniors or people with mobility issues.
Yeah. Or just people like me who don't want to fumble around in the dark when you have to go to the washroom at night.
Right. People with kids too. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about the tiny house features and your favorite parts of living there. But
Mhm.
can you tell me how did you make the transition once you were in your tiny house there? How did you make the transition to work? Like what did you do? How were you able to live this hybrid lifestyle, live on an organic farm, be
Mhm.
off grid because your tiny home is off grid. It comes with an optional solar package, um,
Yep.
and still able to work. What did you do? How did you navigate that?
Yeah. Well, as I was saying before, the 5G towers are really bothering my head. So I do not have Wi-Fi here. I just use my phone for all of my internet access. Um, I work from home. I don't see my clients in person anymore, ever since COVID. So everything's being done over the phone.
Mhm.
So I don't need to really use much internet. I actually find living where I live works better for my work because I have absolute silence here. There's no noise at all. And I need that so that I can focus on my clients. I can focus on what they're saying. I can focus on my own energies. And so being in a very quiet space like this actually works for what I do.
Right.
So it just fits. It's really great.
Well, that's amazing that that worked out. And how did
Yeah.
your clients respond or, react when you told them you won't be seeing them in person anymore? You're only going to be doing sessions online.
Mm, I lost some
Hmm.
because they're used to coming in person and hands being placed on them. Um, so some of them I don't have anymore, but that's okay. I'm a firm believer in if it's meant to be, it will be.
Hmm.
So if those people don't want to see me in person, that's okay. But most of my clients are happy to do the work over the phone. The energy is in everything and everywhere, and it can be accessed. Um, you don't need to have someone in person or to touch them to be able to do energy work. So they were very pleasantly surprised when we did our sessions over the phone at how much they still felt the effects, how they felt exactly the same as being in my office with me on the table.
Yeah. Uh,
Mhm.
That's interesting because similar thing happened with me with one of my energy people that I was working with. Um,
Mm.
a therapist, actually, a type of therapist, during COVID. She stopped seeing clients in person. And I remember at first I was sort of taken back. And since then I still see her and it's all on Zoom and it's
Yeah.
amazing. And actually it's kind of more convenient because now I don't have to get in a car and drive and contribute to greenhouse gases and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when I had my clinic in Yorkville, it was Yorkville, Toronto downtown. So of course parking was ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So now my clients don't have to pay, $20 parking to come in me anymore. They just go find a comfy space in their home and answer the phone and we're good to go.
Yeah. And is your practice full now?
No, it's never full. I like to keep space for anyone who's new. So it's never full. And with the way I work, it's always as you need me. I don't really have a set schedule with my clients.
Right.
Um, it's more like you leave feeling really peaceful, and when you don't feel like that anymore, it means another layer of your onion is ready to be peeled away, and we'll look at it when it shows itself when it's ready. So I have lots of space, but I'm pretty busy. I'm happily busy, perfectly busy.
Good. So
Yeah.
being in your tiny house has not affected your cash flow, your income from work.
No, not at all. In fact, it's financially been better for me because I don't have the overhead that I used to. So I'm able to make whatever it is that I make, I profit more because I don't have the overhead I did.
Right. Awesome.
Mhm.
Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna adjust the lighting here because it's turning dark where I am. There's a green tinge one. So that is awesome. One of my favorite things to learn about with hybrid living is how people are able to continue to earn an income. I'm going to talk about that more in the academy too, which you can visit on the website if anyone's interested in that. But just like microeconomies, how to turn your hobby into a career,
Mhm.
make happy money so that you feel good about what you're doing, and how to do it without being in cities. I think a lot of people are feeling the pinch of being in cities, and I personally love cities. I go to visit them all the time, but it's just not quite for me.
Mhm.
So it sounds like,
Mhm.
as we were talking earlier, having a personal conversation, it sounds like you're a little bit of an introvert like me. So it's nice to be out
Yeah.
in nature. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
Great. And so we talked about the land, managing work, and then when you moved into the home, you had it did you design it or did the builders come up with interior design concepts, or did you come up with that, or
Nope.
collaboration?
No, this whole house is completely just from my brain.
Wow.
I designed it 100%. And I forgot to mention my pod that I added. I just said, oh, the house is 40 long, but I have since it's been a year now. I added a 14 by 15-foot pod onto my house just because I found as I was living here, even though it's built well and designed well so it feels more spacious, I still felt like I needed a dedicated workspace. So I wanted to change my bedroom into an office and then have the pod be my bedroom. So that's why I've added that pod there. So I just have a little bit more space.
Yeah, awesome.
Mhm.
And if anybody's interested in getting a full tour of this amazing tiny house from Kristine, you can I'll put the little thing here in the description and the link, or sorry, the link in the description, and then you can take a
Mhm.
peek. It's a really gorgeous tiny house. What was the response when people started visiting you there, like your closest friends and your family? Like, what did they think?
Well, the immediate reaction is wow, because they just can't believe that it's so tiny. When they walk in and they just see this space open up in front of their eyes, they can't believe how big it looks inside. And everybody says, I can do this. This is not so bad. I can do this. It's actually pretty spacious. Like this is like a condo downtown. This is bigger than some condos downtown.
Yeah.
So they're pretty impressed.
Wow.
Hmm.
And yeah, and we've talked about that, and I've talked about that in one of the biggest selling features of your home is that it does compare to buying a condo in terms of size, design features, it's turnkey
Hmm.
ready. Actually, there's no wait time, for anything like that if you're buying brand new. And your house
Right.
it's kind of like a condo with a passport because you can move it. And
Yeah.
yet it's like half the price. Again, I did some market research just using Zillow and looking around using Google, and it's like
Mhm.
half the price of the average condo in Toronto. So do
I
take
would even I
oh
would even dare to say quarter of the price.
right. Yeah,
It's
right.
very expensive downtown.
Yeah. And I
Hmm.
think the lowest I looked at was like 595. And I mean, that was like very base level, not in good shape, quite old. I mean, your home is like,
Yeah.
what, 2020? Is it?
2021. Yeah. So it's
21.
practically new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years old.
Mhm. Mhm.
Amazing. Okay. And so, just a couple more questions about the property. It's about an
Mhm.
hour from Toronto. And so are people able to move onto that property if they like, or is that not part of the sale?
Oh yeah. Yeah, if they wanted to keep the house here, they could totally stay if they wanted to. Of course, it's not my land, so I can't say absolutely the person would be able to stay. It's not my call. It's for them to meet with the farmer and for him to say that he is fine with them staying and they can work out an arrangement on how they can do that.
Yeah.
Like my arrangement is that I have a volunteer contract where I pay a parking fee, and the more you help, the less you pay. I don't help out as much, so I pay like the full price.
Right.
But he's happy to, as long as he has a conversation with you and he thinks you're a good person and he thinks that you fit here, which most people would, as long as you're not a horrible person. Um, he's happy to have you here. I mean, he's a really, really friendly guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mm.
And
Mm.
well, actually, I'll come back to that. Okay, and then also included with your tiny house is a package. So there's an optional package with, let me just see if I have this right, with the solar panels and the greenhouse and the pod. Are those the three things that come in the package?
No, so the house itself, uh, for sale house only, is just the house and the pod
Okay,
together.
right.
And then the off-grid package is going to be the solar panels, the tower that they're on, the batteries, the cabinet that holds and powers those batteries, the inverters, there's two inverters, generator, uh, what else? And yep, the greenhouse, the shed, all of that. It's all included. Oh, and then two large decks that you can attach to the house and they can be moved as well wherever you want.
Mhm.
What else? And two rain barrels.
Wow.
So
And
you get a lot.
yeah, the greenhouse, just so everybody knows, is quite something to see. It's big and beautiful. And then you have that little area in your office, I believe, where people can start seedlings.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Love
That's
that.
my growing light station. Yeah. I'm pretty
Yeah,
proud of it.
I love it. I'm gonna put, again, if anybody wants to see the tour, the little grow light station is in that tour.
Mhm.
Awesome. And so the farmer's open to having the new owners keep the tiny house there. And
Mhm.
in terms of places, if people wanted to, let's say you want to stay, closer to the city, just so everybody knows, in Ontario, Ontario is one of the most progressive places in Canada and the most
Yeah.
open places for tiny homes. There are definitely, regulations and certain stipulations, and you have to understand the rules and the bylaws. But tiny
Mhm.
homes can be used as, in some cases, as a garden suite or a
Yep.
cottage home. So, or
Yep.
sorry, coach home. So,
Mhm.
um, so just so everybody knows, and I'm going to put links in the description so that you can understand the regulations around that and how you go about it. Um,
Yep.
each, yeah, each process has, each option has a different price and a different paperwork and has a different length of going through it. But tiny homes, yes, can be used as a primary dwelling on a property. Not in all cases, like I said, but in Ontario. And then on top of that, there are unsanctioned lots, which we do have those listed on the website on uh, the land pad and communities map. Unsanctioned lots are lots where people who just want to support hybrid living, have some land, want to earn some
Mhm.
rental income, and have some amenities set up where they support tiny home people in coming to live in their RVs on the property.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's unsanctioned, there's coach homes, there's garden suite, and then there are some tiny house communities throughout Ontario too, and there are new ones always in development. But we have Blue Water Village, Arcadia Tiny Home Community, which I believe is unsanctioned. We have a new one called Brower. I'm not quite sure how to say it. They're building a community out in Kingston, Ontario that folks can look into. They'll probably have pad rentals coming up. And
Oh,
then,
cool.
yeah, and then we have one called Boreal Forest Villages, which is another one that has unsanctioned lots. So this is
Mhm.
just four that I've just mentioned. And then there are so many people. We have the Facebook community, which has, I think, over 12 or 13,000 people in it now who are having active conversations about tiny house lifestyle and hybrid living. And a lot of those folks are talking about where to park tiny homes and tiny home communities. And then we also have a private group for tiny home pad rental and land connecting with landowners. So it's kind of like a little networking community. So I'm going to also put the links for those two Facebook communities in here and everything I just mentioned in the description. So that said, we cannot tell ourselves that there's nowhere to park tiny homes because that is just a myth perpetuated by a negative
Yep.
news cycle. And also, there is some pushback, just like there is for any innovation in the world that is really needed. And the legislation and the
Yeah.
regulators have to sort of catch
Mhm.
up. But I feel very hopeful about what's happening in Ontario, and I
Mhm.
think that it's just going to get better. So, anyways, if anybody's looking at getting a tiny home and you are a city person or you want a spacious tiny home, etc., pay attention to this listing because this is in comparison to a condo super stellar. I've already said that. But anyways, I'm going to ask you, I just love your tiny house. I also think
Thank you.
I love it. It's really pretty. I love the minimalist, clean white design of your tiny house. It leaves a
Mhm.
lot of space for people to add their own touch. I mean,
Yeah.
you can easily paint over that. You don't have to prime it if you want to change the colors.
Yeah.
It's just very easy to step into. And then you've
Yeah.
included some furniture, which we've talked about in the list in the other YouTube video as well,
Mhm.
which is very generous. It's got marble and quartz. It's got some tables, some chairs, a little office area, movable closets that can open up the bedroom, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
And
I wanted to add before you continue, the particular situation at this farm and probably many other farms, which is why tiny home dwellers like to park on farms, is because as far as I understand, there is a bylaw that supports volunteers working on farms. And 10% of the farm land goes towards the volunteers' housing.
Oh,
So that's why I am able to park here and it's perfectly fine.
wow. Okay. I'm gonna
Mhm.
follow up and look into that and find information for that and put it also in the description. That's great. I
Yeah.
wonder if that's kind of like woofing or something, workers on organic farms.
Yeah, it's probably something connected to that.
Yeah,
But like the farmer has other people that volunteer and they come and stay for a long time or a short time and they help out on the farm. They also have to provide their own housing, but a certain percentage of the land is available to them to live on.
right.
The
And so,
government supports it.
okay, so there's probably a subsidy or something for that through the
Mm.
Ontario government. So, and if people want to connect with, so they're gonna, if they're interested in your tiny home, they contact us, we connect them with you, and then would you facilitate a conversation between them and the farmer when they come to look at your property, your tiny house?
Oh yeah, of course. Like we're all a community here and we all know each other and are friends with each other. And I would want to be the one to bring them to meet the farmer and sit and chat with them so they feel comfortable. Everyone feels comfortable.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
great. It's important that there's that synergy between people. Great.
Yeah.
What are your favorite top three favorite features about your tiny house?
Okay, about my tiny house. I love the stainless steel I have all throughout the house. I think it's a really unique touch that's very modern and industrial, but not too distracting. Like you can see the stainless steel backsplash behind me. I think it's a really neat flair to the house. Um, I like how much headspace there is because there's no lofts. So it just feels really, really spacious. Um, I love my soaker tub because I love having baths a lot. What else do I love? I think my favorite room is my bedroom at the moment because it's the newest addition and it's more spacious. It's bigger than most people's bedrooms. It's 13 by 13 by 14 on the inside. So it's pretty spacious and I love to just lie in bed and look out onto the yard that I made from scratch.
Wow.
It's 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 been a really long journey and a hard one, but so worth it. I came here and this was just a field and I had to create this entire space. And it was a lot of work, but I'm really proud of myself and I'm really proud of lying in bed and just looking at everything that I worked so hard on to create.
And the other thing I really love about my house is that it is completely off grid. So, I am not plugged into the city in any way. I haven't paid a hydro bill in 3 years. My house is completely powered by the sun, and I get water from my well. So, if there's ever a power outage or water shortage or anything like that, I am completely covered. And I really love the security of that for my house and for me. So that's one of the big things I really love about my house as well.
Um,
Mhm.
my one of my favorite things about your place is also your bathroom and your soaker tub. They look amazing. I'm a big fan of taking baths too,
Yeah.
especially in the winter time, cozy up in a bathtub.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, awesome. Okay, and can you tell me, if you can, your top three favorite memories that you have of your time living in that tiny home?
Okay. Number one, which I told you already, is the first snowfall.
Mm.
So in Kawartha, it's not like downtown Toronto where you just get a little snow. Like you get snow here. I'm in the snow belt. So the very first snow, I went outside and it was just, I don't even know how deep it was. Must have been like 6 inches deep or so. And it was just a blanket of pure white, crunchy
Hmm.
snow. And coming from the city, you just don't see that. By the time you look outside, there are tire marks everywhere. It's slushy, it's brown, it's gross, it's not pleasant. But here it was just like a picture. And I couldn't wait to get outside and just hear the snow crunching under my boots and take so many pictures with my phone. On the farm, there are two spring-fed ponds that I like to spend time at. So the first place I went with my phone was to those spaces to take some really nice pictures. So I think that was my favorite memory, being here. Um, and then my other memories are just of like I told you before, like what I created. Like I didn't know I was capable of doing any of this, and I'm really proud of myself at what I've done here. So every time I look outside, every time I go outside and think about all the shoveling I did, all the hammering I did, like all the stuff that I did to create what is here, I'm impressed with myself, and I didn't think I could do it, and I did. So I
Yeah,
think
like you
that's
homesteaded kind of.
yeah, I totally did. And like growing my own food, I don't know how to do that stuff. I'm actually aside from being an energy healer, I'm also a holistic nutritionist. And you know, you learn in the city, you open a book and you read about herbs and plants, but you don't get to go out in nature and touch them, grow them. So I didn't know anything about that at all. And I got to really jump in and be holistic and learn how to do all this stuff myself. And so, like, these are great memories of just experiencing nature rather than just reading it in a book.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, the
Mm,
connection we have with food, and that's just becoming so much more important, I think, as time continues. Well, thank you. That
yeah.
sounds so charming and like wholesome and pristine. Um,
Thanks.
can you tell us a little bit about your greenhouse? Because your greenhouse is gorgeous. I love it. Just like talk about it a little bit.
Sure. It's really big. 10 by 26. It's polycarbonate, so it's very strong, protects from the elements. It's a planta greenhouse, and when you get a planta greenhouse, they show you a picture of all the people, their staff, like sitting on the greenhouse because it can take that much weight.
Wow.
So, and it's held up so strong over the 3 years I've been here. I am trying to grow any and everything in there. I have learned, I am learning as I go along through trial and error what works and what doesn't work in a greenhouse. I think if I was to ever do it again, I would do it a bit differently. But my goal in the greenhouse was to do everything hydroponic, so there's no soil in there at all.
Wow, really? It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I decided to go in really hard on this and not just do things the normal way, which has
Mhm.
made it more challenging, but I'm here for it. Like I want to learn. So, and having the farmer around, he comes by, he's really impressed with what I'm doing. He always wants to see, what did you grow this time? What are you working on in there? And he's very proud of my work, and he likes to show the other volunteers like, let's go check out Kristine's greenhouse and all her stuff.
Wow, that's so cool,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. It's nice to have him there because he knows what he's doing. I have no idea. So
Yeah.
having him there to like teach me has really been helpful.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Love that.
Mhm. I
Okay.
think there's another thing I wanted to say
Sure. Please do.
about being here is that when you're in the city and you want to turn on the light, you just turn it on. You don't think about any of the you're just in your little bubble and you just do whatever you want in your bubble in the city. When
Hmm.
you come out into nature, because there aren't any other houses around, I mean, there are, but not really. You're just here in the pitch black when it gets dark. And it almost feels like you're breaking some sort of universal law to like turn on a light or watch TV or, do all the stuff that you would have done in your condo. um, you become one with the cycle of things when you come out into nature and there's nothing else around you but just you and the forest. I can't even explain it. You just become part of the cycle. You rise with the sun. You
Mhm.
You sleep with the sun set. You appreciate quiet. You become part of your surroundings. And even when you want to live off grid, you also have to be aware of that
Mhm.
so that you can optimally run your house. So I had to become part of the circle of things, one with nature. And uh, someone who was a city person and didn't like any of that stuff at all, I really have built such a great respect for nature and how things work. And you cannot trick nature. Nature does what it does, and all you can do is flow with it. And I really love that. So I'm
Mhm.
grateful for being out here and becoming part of that.
Mhm. That's probably connected to the sun a lot, right?
Yeah. And even like growing food, like you can put as many grow lights on as you want, but those plants are smart and they know it's winter and they know when to grow. So you can't, it's the
Wow.
same thing. Like you can't live in the city and turn on a light and think that's the same as sunlight. It just isn't.
Right. And then that would affect your circuit, so the sun, the quiet, you're in the stars. So you're going to start, your nervous system is probably going to really soften and calm down. Your
Oh
parasympathetic
yeah.
nervous system would really calm and probably very good for your health. The more negative ions in nature, you're not as insulated or isolated as you are in the city. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to talk to me about the benefits of nature. I am a nature advocate, and probably as you can see, also a tiny, sorry, besides being a tiny home advocate, I'm also an artist with a focus on nature. So I can just imagine how, amazing it must be to live full time and not just like, it's not like camping, because camping
No.
is like that too. Like you have the comfort of a home. You're safe, it's all season. You work from there,
Yep.
you cook, you have a beautiful bathroom, you have a beautiful home, you have your piano, you can have guests. Like this is kind of like the best of it. And
Yeah.
you have it's on wheels. So if you didn't like it there, you could move and find somewhere else to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're
Yeah.
also including,
That's the beautiful thing about it on wheels. Yeah.
yeah, and you're
Sorry,
also
go ahead.
sorry, you're offering people the option of like you'll help them tow it, right? Is if anyone does want to move somewhere else, you'll help them with the towing part, right?
Well, I am happy to contribute towards the cost of that because I
Yeah,
know what it takes to move a tiny home. So I
yeah,
get it.
yeah. So you're open to talking
Yeah.
about that and coming up with something that's fair on both ends to help people to make it easy.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Totally.
Awesome.
Hmm.
I can't think
Yeah.
of anything else. I mean, I just really think that, and people should go take a look and obviously get a tour and meet with you. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Kristine, to let people know? I know you're really motivated to sell. You did just decrease the price today of this tiny home, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I changed it from 295 to 275,
Right.
and I changed the price for the off-grid package from 50 to 45.
Yeah.
Um, and hoping to sell. Um, the reason why I'm selling in the first place is because my family is going through some like happy things and not so happy things, and I just really feel like my place is with them, and I'm really anxious to get home to my family. So that is why I'm selling in the first place.
Hmm.
But I I love, I didn't know I could really enjoy living tiny and living in nature. And I really, really love it. And so much so that I don't want to go back to the city.
Yeah.
I really like living here. Um, but I came here as someone who really wasn't into this kind of stuff. And I thought it was going to be impossible. And I'm like 5 foot nothing. And I am able to do all the things that I never expected that I could do. And if I can do it, then anyone can do it. It don't let it be something that's intimidating, because I think the idea of living tiny in a forest off grid can be
Yeah, and
intimidating to
as a
some
woman
people.
too.
Yeah. Yeah, and it really isn't. Like I have been doing it full time for 3 years in this house, and it has been absolutely wonderful. And I have gained a sense of community that I never had before. There are other people here on the farm that are, everyone's just so happy to help. And I have nothing bad to say.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So if people want, so the price has been reduced. I do know, I did kind of peek around and there are listings around you in mobile parks, a couple of mobile parks, very similar price to yours. And in my opinion, and like all due respect to those sellers, but not nearly as charming. Like if honestly, people, if you look at those listings that are around there in the mobile parks, there's one for 290, there's one for 270. And Kristine's is like, you know, in a different, just a different category altogether. So this is a smoking
Yeah.
deal. Please do your research when you're, looking at condos and you're looking at tiny homes and you're looking at, off-grid packages and you're looking at community and
Mm.
weigh out, weigh out the facts and the prices and really because the tiny house industry has changed in the past 10 years and this tiny home, trust me, I have done my research. I've been involved in the industry for a very long time. It's very reasonably priced. And the fact that I already thought it was a great price. And now the fact that you've reduced it is like even more amazing. So don't hesitate,
Yeah.
everybody, and reach out to myself through the links. And then I will connect you with Kristine. Kristine, thank you again so much for your time. And I wish you all the best in selling your tiny home. I know you're motivated to get back to your daughter and your family. So
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me and for listening to me yak on for however long we have been talking.
my pleasure. I could pick your brain. I love what you're doing. I mean, I would really love to. I lived in a tiny house. I don't in this moment, but also on an acreage, and I know what the experience is like, and it's pure magic.
Yeah,
Like I could,
it is.
it's magical.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Kristine. And I will put the links in the description, everyone. And please remember to subscribe and like and follow up with more content from us. And stay well as you do your hybrid living out there in Canada, everyone. Thank you so much.